Welcome in to the General Admission Scumbags, episode number 2 of your crazy uncle's favorite Duke football pod. I am one of your hosts, Tyler Lester, being joined as always by our co-host, Noah Lunsford. And on today's episode, we're going to dive into a wealth of topics as we cover anything from Duke football to the NFL draft to just music, really. Last weekend was the spring game, if that's what you want to call it. We'll dive into that. A lot of people entered the portal. No one exited the portal yet coming to Duke. We're going to touch on that. We got our mailbag, as always. You people delivered big time. We've got Scumbag of the Week. And as mentioned last episode, we're going to do some top 10 lists. And first thing, and I know Noah wants to shout out this too, we are extremely grateful for all the love we got. In under a week, we got 100 followers on Twitter. Over 100 people have listened to our podcast wherever you do, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music. We couldn't be more appreciative of it. Always leave us a review if you can. Continue to shout us out and support it because it's only going up from here. So the first thing we're going to get on to real quick is the spring game. I've got a lot to say about this. I was there in person. Noah, unfortunately, had some issues pop up, and he couldn't make it.
Hey, new truck gang.
Yeah, Noah had to go get him a new truck. He was sidelined for the spring game, but he did watch. So I'm going to we actually haven't talked about this in person much yet. So I'm going to let Noah first kind of tell what he saw from the TV side of things before I get into what I saw, because we haven't really discussed the spring game and what we thought of it together yet.
So one of my major takeaways with the spring game is to not look at the spring game with any expectations. If you're looking for a prayer in the spring game, your season's washed. You know, there's not much you can look into outside of certain mechanical things, route running skills, quarterback, how they throw the ball, cornerbacks covering one-on-ones. The way we had to set it up with the lack of offensive linemen due to injury and players coming in the portal and doing the flips of 7-on-7, then into a full team scaled practice session. I just, you can't look into it too much. From my perspective, it seemed like, a lot of energy. It seems like everybody's in a good morale, which that's about all you can ask for in the spring. As Coach Manny Diaz said, they're probably ready to quit hitting each other, start hitting somebody else. So getting past spring and realizing all you got left is fall camp will definitely be huge for the team. But other than that, man, it's just, as a fan, we just have to enjoy it for what it is. And it's just an opportunity to, be at Wallace Wade. If you couldn't be there, just watch the game and enjoy it, That's kind of what my take on it was.
Yeah, there's some stuff we can kind of dive into here in a second about like what happened during the quote spring game. First off, it felt great to be back in Wallace Wade. She's as beautiful as she was in the fall. Shout out, as always, to the Duke grounds crew. They do a phenomenal job with the field. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't have this to back it up, but weren't they voted like nationally the best like crew last year?
Yeah,
they got some sort of like recognition.
There's an award each season. It's like, I don't know what, group of people, or if it's the NCAA or whatever, team that gives it out. But the Duke grounds crew did win like the best maintenance and facility and greens of last season, which is really cool. Shout out to those guys out there keeping that thing pedicured. It's like, it looks like they cut that thing with scissors to an exact centimeter, pulling the roller out. So shout out to Duke grounds crew. We really love our landscapers.
It's nice. So give them their shout out. I got there a little early, got to hang out with the Section 17 and the Hard Hat guys in their usual tailgate. It was good to see them, meet up with them. I'm going to go on a quick rant here. Duke really fumbled the spring game. And I get that there were injuries. I get that they couldn't do a full-on scrimmage. That being said, in my opinion, this was the most anticipated spring game in a while because Elko had gotten us to a good spot. Diaz is coming in. Malik Murphy's coming in. There's so much actual hype. On TV, it didn't show it because they're not really showing the crowd. There was a good turnout of people. If you would have condensed them in, almost all the chairbacks would have been filled up, but they had the whole side open. Duke did a terrible job, absolutely terrible job of getting the people interested. You walked in, they gave you a few things, and here's another thing. They give you a poster when you walk in, and I'm appreciative of Duke trying to get stuff to the fans. The poster you get is from the Birmingham Bowl last year. Give us a 2024 poster, something with this year's guys on it. Not to knock Monk, Dwayne Carter, and Jamion Franklin. They're not playing on this year's team. So why are we giving that out at this year's spring game? Then there's no crowd participation, Duke. We walk in, we sit in our chairs, and as great as our PA guy is, he tells us we're going to watch a practice. We watch a practice. He tells us we're going to scrimmage, and we scrimmage. There was no anything from the crowd, like no attempt at cheers. The band was there. The band sounded great. Kudos to them for playing the fight songs. They did their part. We didn't play every time we touch at the spring game. There was no every time we touch. It was just, it really felt like on Duke's game day side of things, they really fumbled this bad because they didn't do anything to create any kind of excitement for people coming to games during the season or like any kind of promotion of the season. There was no hype around Malik Murphy it was just like you showed up to watch a practice and you went home. And at the end of the day, that's fine. But this was a chance for Duke to really do something to like grab people's attention, and it just feels like a massive letdown.
Yeah, there's definitely things I feel like marketing wise, Duke could have done better. A lot of things with game day operations, which we have been improving on immensely. I'll give it to Game Day Op. They last year felt like they did a great job starting to get things going the right direction. And it's a spring game, and it kind of sucks the way it had to pan out. But like you were kind of saying, the lack of music, cheering, any sort of like hype things. I mean, I know they did the game day festivities for like the kids with the inflatables and stuff, which is awesome. You got to have the youth in there. They fill seats up, and, just builds your crowd and making future Blue Devils along the way. But outside of that, it didn't seem like there was too much going on. The tailgate lots didn't open till 3:00. If a game starts at 6 and you can't get to your tailgate till 3, means you really can't get set up and get motion till about 3:34. And then you drink a little bit, you eat a little bit. Next thing you know, it's 5:30. You need to go to your seat. And, it's really not that much time to enjoy, just sitting and hanging out and talking with fellow Blue Devils. So I think one thing Duke has to do, and they've been this way for a long, long time, is our tailgating policy is one of the worst in college football. And for games our weekday games, the lot's not opening till mid-afternoon and stuff like that. Like tailgate lots, regardless of kickoff, should be open at 6 a.m. Doesn't matter. Should be open at 6 every single game day. Doesn't matter if it's a 12 o'clock kick. Doesn't matter if it's an 8 o'clock kick on the ACC network. The last game of the night for the ACC. It just simply doesn't matter. Your tailgate lot should open at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And I'm gonna chime in real quick. And a perfect example of what you're talking about is Duke is hosting Florida State this year on a Friday night. Florida State is going to be ranked probably top 10, and there's a shot that Duke's ranked in the top 25 because we should be 4-1 or 5-0 coming into that game. So there's a shot we're going to be on the fringe of being ranked somewhere in there. And the lots for that 8 o'clock, 7:30 kickoff aren't going to open until 5 o'clock.
It's going to be a killer.
It's going to suck because now you're fighting Durham traffic at 5 o'clock on a Friday on top of trying to get into the lot that every single other person's trying to get into. And you've got an hour and a half really to tailgate because if you're like me, you get into the stadium as soon as the gates open because you got to sit down and recover before the game starts.
Yep.
But as far as the actual
spring game, I guess one highlight, I feel like one thing that we can all say is Malik Murphy, the first drive, I know a lot of people, 3 incompletions, blah, blah, blah. It's the spring game. There's not much going on. It's lackadaisical routes. It's lackadaisical coverage. And, it's not a lot of hype and intensity. But once it kind of got vamped up a little bit, when Malik Murphy, when you're talking about quarterback mechanics, you want square shoulders. You really want a nice vertical arm. And you want your bottom half of your body to be doing a lot of work. You want that back foot planted, 45-degree angle. You want nice push off. And when Malik Murphy drops in the pocket, his third step into his plant is the most powerful leg movement you'll ever see from a quarterback, especially being 6'6" with the lanky legs. It just shows how strong he is. He's just pure strength and animal. And when he puts all that force into that back leg on his third drop step, the ball, when it comes out, it looks like it's going 100 miles an hour. Like he threw that 30-yard, like deep curl route. I think it was to like Jordan Moore or somebody like maybe Mechie. I don't know. I ripped Mechie for transferring, but no, had a few nice grabs in the spring game. But I mean, he just ripped it. Absolutely ripped it. And man, watching him fling that ball around and him having a whole summer to develop and get Brewer's system, it's just going to be crazy.
Yeah, and I think I told you this or texted you this kind of during the game. It felt more like Murphy was showing us what he could do. Like if you watch the game, you see he maybe made a few overthrow stuff, but I feel like it was more of he was just showing us throws he can make. Like he was just showing like I can throw the ball this far, I can throw the ball this hard, I can hit this window. Type of plays is more. He wasn't. I feel like he wasn't trying to necessarily show us everything. He was more of just showcasing like this is why I'm here. And you
the
saw
Jordan
like
Moore touchdown pass, man. That was just the ball placement on the pylon. I mean, that's a first round pick football throw. If you can throw that 35, 40-yard fade and you can tuck it into that front pylon and just have your guy be able to turn to that back shoulder and catch it, it's unreal. The hardest pass to defend is a back shoulder fade. And the only way you can make that pass happen is with a good quarterback. And if Murphy can run that off all year to Moore and those guys, we're going to be in good shape.
Absolutely. And the other thing I'm going to touch on real quick, a lot of people are concerned, and I'm concerned about it. I'll admit after watching it, the offensive line. Now Duke did two little kind of inter-team scrimmages where one was the defensive line went up against the offensive line, and the offensive line that they really just should not have done that drill. We had 5 healthy offensive linemen. We only had 8 on the roster because we're missing 9 that are either freshmen that haven't enrolled or are transfers who haven't enrolled. So we only had 8 linemen total, only 5 dressed, and you let those 5 guys go out there, and no disrespect to any of them, they looked completely overwhelmed by our defensive line. I mean, scarily overwhelmed.
The defensive line looks solid. That's one thing I will say. I know maybe the competition level is not super high, but just based off of mechanics, Harlan Bauer, what he does with the DNs is just, I mean, he's goated. Best DN coach in the country. And like VJ, it really seemed like he was sinking his pad level down a lot more. I felt like his first 2 years, there's a lot of times he'd get caught up high. And when you're a defensive end, you get caught up high. Offensive lineman drives you inside, you no longer have contained. That can turn a 5-yard play into a 50-yard play. And but it really looked like they were really focused. Him and Wesley, right? 97, your guy.
Yeah, Wesley Meth or Wesley Williams. Wesley Williams.
Yeah, Wesley Williams. Yeah. The other DN. One thing I noticed throughout was just the way they were trying to keep contained, keeping their pads square, making sure they're not chasing up the field. And just that's really good things you want to see mechanically out of your D line. And VJ going into his 3rd year, and then Wesley Williams going into his 2nd or 3rd, I believe. That's good to see out of them. That means the development has been pretty good for them.
Yeah. Now this was the drill that got scary for multiple reasons. The first drill they did before the offensive defensive line was we did cornerbacks and receivers kind of going one-on-one. it was either the second or third time that, like, the second or third, like, person in line was Jaden Moore, Jordan Moore's brother. Jaden was a incoming freshman. I haven't heard for sure. I know everyone has said ACL and it looks scary in person, but on the third, on the third set of this drill, Jaden Moore just fell. Non-contact injury. They got him like on the medical cart, came out and picked him up, and he had a towel over his head. At the end of the scrimmage, he was back on the field with his entire leg in a brace and on crutches. So, I mean, you hate to see anyone ever get injured, especially during something like that. It's probably safe to assume we won't see Jaden Moore this year now for sure. But and we hope everything goes well and he heals up. Outside of the injury, though, the receivers cooked the defensive backs for that entire drill. I mean, got separation left and right. The DBs were having to physically hold on for dear life every single play.
Yeah, on TV, man, the catch by John Tavis. John Tavis, if you hear this, man, God almighty. That shit was legendary. I mean, that was a highlight reel moment. That happens on a Saturday night against Carolina. That place would explode. And that's one guy we talked about that's just going to be huge for. I mean, we're huge Jordan Moore guys. He's going to be great, but you could easily see John Tavis Robertson go off for like 850 and like 9 touchdowns this year. Even go up to like a buck. Get 1,000 yards receiving. Just that quiet season where it's just going to be about a touchdown a game. And there's a lot to look forward to with that.
Yeah, if you follow Duke's social media, which you should, John Tavis made like a highlight catch once a week on there. So he's going to be the kind of guy. Don't expect him to make 6 or 7 catches every game, but when he makes a catch, you're going to know he makes a catch because it's going to be a highlight play. Like he's not here to be some Mr. Dependable go-to every third down. No, he's here to make the stupid plays that make you go, "Oh my God!" That's going to be him all year. And last thing to note from the spring game, our boy Todd Polino goes. Technically, he listed as 3 for 3, but the way the scrimmage works, he made 4, but they didn't count the 4th one. Todd Polino hit 3 50-yard field goals and another 40-yarder in the scrimmage. So I believe we'll be fine in the kicking game. Punting looked a lot better than I thought it would. The first punt we had went for like 10 yards out of bounds, and I was worried. But after that, we kind of settled in. So I think special teams is going to be fine long term. I'm not as worried.
Australian punters usually work out. I mean, the guy from Iowa, shout out Iowa Hawkeye football for putting a punter into the 5th round today. Let's give some scumbag respect to the Hawkeyes. No team is more scummy than Iowa. It's as scum as it gets, but it is the greatest kind of football you could ever watch.
Oh, absolutely. No, the best offensive play Iowa called all year was punt.
Yeah, I mean, if you have your punter
and it worked every time. I mean, it was beautiful to watch.
You're doing
Iowa,
numbers.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Virginia basketball. Not to make this a basketball thing, but Iowa just had this innate ability to whoever they played. They could have played Chip Kelly's Oregon offense, and they would set them back to the year 1930.
It's sexy how Iowa plays football. I mean, it's almost like just porn, I mean, if you love just just the worst of the worst, like Iowa football is for you. And man, Kirk Ferentz, Haiti's gone now, but Grandpa Kirk, I mean, Iowa's probably going to be more of an offensive team now than ever. We might have just witnessed the end of Iowa, but God, let Ferentz get one more chance, let him come back and win games 3-3, it's magical.
It really was. All right, so now we're going to talk. We'll bring this back in about Duke, guys. Some big stuff happened this weekend after the spring game. NFL draft. So some other big news has happened in Duke football here lately. The last 3 days we've had the draft taking place, and believe it or not, every day of the draft you've gotten to hear a Blue Devil get their name called. And me and Noah especially are ecstatic about this draft. So we'll start first with big dog Graham Barton, first round
Graham.
draft pick, the third first round draft pick for Duke since like 2010. Lakin Tomlinson first round, our boy Danny Dimes first round, and now Graham Barton. He got drafted by the Buccaneers in the first round. Good for him. He's going to do great things. Now me and Noah get to brag a little bit. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan. Noah's a Green Bay Packers fan. We both kind of wanted Graham to fall to us in the first round, and it didn't happen. The Buffalo Bills had the prestigious honor of in the third round drafting our man Dwayne Carter to the Buffalo Bills. And in the fifth round today, the Green Bay Packers take Jacob Monk. So our teams both have Duke football guys on them now. And I cannot wait to buy my Dwayne Carter Buffalo Bills jersey. The second that becomes a thing, I am buying one.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not much more. I mean, as a Duke fan, we can be asking for right now. I mean, never in our lives have Duke. I mean, and I know some of you viewers are older, and that's the funny part about this is you guys could all be 50, 60 years old, and also in none of y'all's lives have three players gotten taken like this from Duke. So, it's very seldom and far between when it happens. It's so cool when they go to your team. Like, it's cool, like Graham, love Graham. It's awesome that Dallas didn't draft him. Let's just think, I mean, like, and when you're a football fan in the NFL and a huge college football fan, the only thing you don't want to see your college guys have happen to them is get drafted by the Cowboys. So shout out
Amen.
Jerry for selling it again. Jeremy Roach defender, Sam, all you just scumbag Cowboy fans. I mean, what else did you expect? What else did you expect old geriatric Jerry to do for you? I mean, he had Graham in his back pocket, and it was just like, nope. And gave him to a team that went to the playoffs last year. Seems like Baker's on the up and up. It's a good young football team, a lot of experience around him. Like, he went to an awesome fit.
Absolutely. And to go back off what you said real quick, there have been, and I don't want to slight any Duke player that's ever been drafted, but this is the first time I can recall three guys getting drafted, and in all reality, all three of them could see significant playing time. You know more about the Packers than I do, but Graham Barton's going to be a Week 1 starter.
Yeah, he
Dwayne
might
Carter,
Pro Bowl second year.
Dwayne Carter is going to get significant playing time in Buffalo. He's going to be our third defensive tackle, and we rotate the defensive line like every other play. So he's going to get a lot of playing time. And like I said, you know more about the Packers. I assume Monk is going to be a rotation guy, but he's going to probably see playing time at some point.
Yeah, he's going to be in like the 6 or 7 hole to start the year out. But in reality, with that draft pick, it's looking like our GM Gutenhurst is looking at, finding Billy Turner's replacement, guys that are coming up on the end of their contracts next year. Really good players, but they're in their mid to late 30s now, and kind of got to move away from it. And from what I could tell, with the way Goot drafted, getting the tackle from Arizona in the first round, which was a really good pick, and then going defense, like all defense and a running back up until the fifth, and then grabbing one more offensive lineman, it feels like he found his two guys that he wanted to kind of be the new plug-ins after this season's over.
So I mean, it's really cool to see, and there's a shot. As of right now, no other Duke players have been drafted. There are probably going to be a couple of them that get signed as undrafted free agents and get a shot to make someone's practice roster or get a shot to make a roster spot over the summer. But as of right now, those are the only three.
Journey.
Yeah, Lucas Patrick. I assume Jamion Franklin and Porter Wilson will be undrafted free agents. Again, that's speculation. We don't know for sure, but I would assume those two are two names to watch out for.
I've seen a lot worse Duke players get put on undrafted. No offense to them, but just a lot less talented guys than Jamion and Porter get put on, undrafted free agent list. The tight end a few years ago, like Daniel Helm or whatever his name was, that transferred from Tennessee, and we all thought he was going to be the shit, but he was just awful too.
Oh,
He
no,
got put on a
he
roster.
was the
Yeah.
shit. So looking through our little list here, what we got to do. This ought to be a fun little deviation before we get into our mailbag and scumbag of the week. We thought it'd be fun to kind of put together some top 10 lists during the off season to kind of keep interest up and not just bore you guys to death every time. So we came up with the idea. The first top 10 list we're going to do is songs that are played during football games. Now, me and Noah have taken the liberty. We've each done 5 apiece. Now, for this list, there's an exclusive top number 1 answer. We all know it's Every Time We Touch. That is the best song ever to be played during a football game. Haters can suck a fat one. Every Time We Touch is the best song. So we've each given 5 different answers. We haven't compared answers. So there's a shot that we go 5 for 5 matching each other here. We don't know what we're going to say. But Every Time We Touch has not been listed because it is its own special number 1 spot. So I'm gonna let Noah go first with one of his 5 for the top 10 list for
All
songs we
right.
played during football games.
I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna go fifth. I'm gonna go 5-1 here, but I'll start off with my fifth and rotate back to you. I'm gonna go with my most cliche one first. We're gonna go Back in Black, AC/DC, at my fifth hole.
Ooh, that is a solid. I've really, really thought about that one. Just like the intro for Back in Black, it just screams football. And all right, so I cheated a little bit. I'll admit it. My first selection here, and I'll do this one first to explain it. I put anything by Pitbull. Now, I'm a fan of white girl music at football games. I'm a fan of just stuff that gets people like up, jumping down, screaming. And when I say anything by Pitbull, you can name like 7 Pitbull songs that just fit at football games that are just fun to be played. Like Give Me Everything, Timber, Time of Our Lives. Hell, even Feel This
Oh,
Moment.
dude, Time of Our Lives. Oh my God, at a night game is the most unreal thing to hear. What an atmosphere change.
So like I put anything by Pitbull. Yeah, like it's just that's what I'm about. I'm not about like oh that sounds cool. I'm about stuff that, like you said, gets the atmosphere going. Like you hear that song after a big play or before a big play, and you just see the stadium like just stand up, or like everybody just like comes together during the time that starts singing it. Like it's just, I'm fairly certain that during the Notre Dame game they played "Time of Our Lives," and I was just standing there this is cinema. Like this is beautiful.
Yeah, it makes you want to cry. Like, I mean, when you're a true scumbag, you just feel it because, like, you've seen Duke at its worst, and then you see it at its best, and it's just that man, that shit'll move mountains. But so at my four
So I'm gonna let you
hole,
go.
I'm going a pretty legendary college football banger song right here. Fight Night by the Migos.
Oh, that's a
They
good.
used to play that in the Jeremy Cash, DeAndre Singleton days when we had Devon Edwards. I mean, when there was a little bit of their little hood on the team, we had a little bit of soul back there, and man, the energy when you would just hear Fight Night come on in those years at Wallace Wade was just so much fun.
That's a damn good one. I'm gonna piggyback off you and go cliche a little bit here. It's a very generic answer to give, but I just think it's one of the like best songs to like. It's got to be don't stop believing. Like it's cliche, but like it's one of those songs that, like you get the whole stadium like up singing it. It's just like it's one of those things that, like just feels right. I'd be
A
remiss
hundred percent.
if I didn't put him on the list. Like down in the fourth quarter, or it's a big game in the fourth quarter, late at night. Half the stadium's pissed drunk. You got the hard hat guys playing their inflatable guitars. Don't Stop Believing comes on. Like it's just chef's kiss.
So coming in at my 3 hole, this is my sleeper pick. This is my sleeper pick, and I would like to actually give a shout out to the University of South Carolina Gamecocks for this one because I never heard it at a football game. I never knew I needed to until I did it with 80,000 people at a Florida game when I was in high school one time. Dancing Queen by ABBA. Oh my God! You talk about energy.
Oh,
Talk about some dancing. That right there gets. I mean, it gets the people going. It's provocative. You know, it's
what
what
a
Kanye said. It's it's nasty.
what a pick! I didn't even think about ABBA. ABBA goes hard though.
She goes.
What a
She's so
wow!
good.
I'm just picturing Wallace Wade full of people singing. I'm just picturing Wallace Wade full of people singing like Dancing Queen now, and that's just goosebumps.
Oh, it was beautiful,
Actual.
dude. And you know how hard they go down in Colombia. Like it's a
Oh,
different level of fans, and it's so much fun to experience. One of the greatest places to go watch a ball game. And you do that. I mean, you see
now my
eighty-six
next
thousand
one.
people singing that. It's unreal.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Down in Columbia, they go hard for their football. SEC baby, it really does mean more. Uh, my three hole here again and continue. White girl music, man. Die Young by Kesha, got
Hmm.
to be on there. Like the whole, the don't like that whole like beat drop, just got to be on there. Like nothing like being hammered at 3 8, like 3 in the afternoon. Duke's dog walking Yukon, and you're just jamming out to Kesha of all things. What's not to love about it?
So coming in at my two hole, I've got Back to Back by Drake. That's my diss track. My kind of I want to hear that when they're warming up. I want to see the boys getting amped. Start talking a little shit, walking towards the 50-yard line. Maybe push a kicker in the back. He's a little too close to that logo. You go give him a shove. I need more of that from Duke. I need us to act a little more badass than we usually do.
That is another good one. That's actually, I like that one a lot. My next one, and this song's kind of slowly worked its way up. Um, I went with, and you can shout out Michigan football for getting this trend going. I went with Mr. Brightside. Uh,
Banger.
always liked Mr. Brightside, but like to hear it started with Michigan, like, and if you haven't done this, like, please go watch Michigan like singing Mr. Brightside. To watch 100,000 people singing that song in unison with no music in the background, like spine chilling. And Duke started playing it at every football game, and just like being under the lights, dead ball, like after a big play, and you hear like Mr. Brightside start up, and you see all the like student section get going, and all the old people like, what the hell is this? That's when you know it's a good song. When the young people are excited and pumped up, and the old people are all confused, you know you've played a good song, and that's
Yep.
Mr. Brightside.
Yeah, everyone that's all the ladies that are wearing sweaters and like have the scarves around their necks, and the guys that are in like a two-piece suit, all the people essentially that sit in the tower. Like when they don't know the song, you've probably picked something that's going to make everybody at general admission real happy. So shout out them for that. My number one. This is just I feel like I nailed it. I mean I don't know if I could have picked a better one. Levels by Avicii. You go fourth quarter, timeout, just the
No,
crazy.
you
It's a
did
night
not.
game, 3rd and 6, and they just start cranking it, and it's just beautiful, man. I love everything about that. Just the bass line, the beat,
I'll
everyone
be
knows
damned.
it. It's such a warm weather song too, man. It's like a September night game. It's like 83 degrees, hot as shit, and humid. You're not even thinking about it no more. You're just having a good time.
Well, this segment's going to be a little bit shorter because Noah just took my answer for number one. I swear to
Yes.
God. I swear to God, that was my number one.
There's nothing
I will
better,
be,
dude.
I'll be damned, and I can't say any better than you said it. That's such a wow. I
It's
was sitting
it's
on that one too. Like when I picked that song, I was like, this one's gonna like shock everybody, and I'll
it's
be
such a
damned.
beautiful just piece of art. R.I.P. Avicii.
Right? Yeah. I mean, they were way ahead of their time.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, the dude's the best DJ of the like 2010s without a doubt. And he put out like 3 songs before he died.
Right. All right. And now I do. I would. I told Noah right before we started recording that I was going to get in some hot water when I brought up stadium songs because, folks, I think Mo Bamba and Seven Nation Army are completely overrated and overplayed at football games. I think they're fun to play at football games, but they've been played so much that I really don't think they're good anymore. I also want to give a quick shout out to, speaking of South Carolina, Sandstorm and Inner Sandman. Those are great songs to be played at football games, but they're only great in those settings. Like, I feel like if Duke tried to play Sandstorm or if Duke played Inner Sandman, it wouldn't be nearly the same effect. But
Yeah,
at those two environments, they are like phenomenal. Like South Carolina and Sandstorm, just it's
it's
one of the
so much
coolest things.
fun, man. I love going down there for games.
But so there was, like I said, we're gonna do a top 10 like that every episode till the fall gets here and we focus more on football and like actually what's going on with Duke. But so we're gonna open up the mailbag now. There's a segment we're gonna get on during the mailbag that's gonna take a few minutes, but we're gonna start with the mailbag. Let me find these questions. Again, our fans knock it out of the park. Like, you guys consistently deliver in the mailbag. Our first question, and this is a doozy. Our boy Chris McLaughlin at Chris M. Durham. Rank the following plays from brutal to life-destroying levels of pain for Duke football. The Miami pitchy woo-woo, the chop block penalty against UNC 2 years ago, the 4th and 16 against Notre Dame this year, and the interception that wasn't an interception against UNC this year in Chapel Thrill. So I'll let Noah kind of. I think we should each go for. We'll kind of back and forth it, like your 4, my 4, kind of like we just did with the top 5.
So one thing I can say about this question, and whenever I commented back to Chris on it on Twitter, I included that I was at all 4 of those games. I was at the Miami game. I was at both UNC games and the Notre Dame game. I've seen it all with my own eyes. I've seen it from the crisp ages of 13 to 24. You know, it's really taken a beating on me. Number one, and it's not even close, is the Miami lateral game because it killed David
Yep.
Cutcliffe. That game killed Duke football for essentially. Like, we went 7-5 a couple of years after that, like with Daniel Jones, but it killed everything we built from 2012 to 2014. Just murdered us. It's clear number one to me. My number 2 is 4th and 16. Felt like that was pretty detrimental to the program. It really just hurt to see because Sam Hartman's just so unathletic and slow. The fact that even though we were in the wrong coverage, we weren't good enough to go track him down for 16 yards is crazy. Third is going to be the chop block because that was clear cut. I definitely think that one, it sucked. And there was plenty of evidence of why that was the wrong thing. And then the last one for me is the interception. It really didn't suck that bad. I don't think it was a pick. They should have reviewed it and then told us it wasn't a pick. It sucks they didn't review it, but that one seems the least detrimental to like my mental health. My therapist doesn't hear about that one too much.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty much lockstep in agreement there. The Miami play, like you said, that's something we can do a deep dive on in like one episode. Is like go back and look at that Miami play and like how it really derailed us. I think we'll do that one time because it did. That play single-handedly like led to the detriment of Duke football and put us back and got Cutcliffe in the spot he was in. No denying that. Like, that was like the single play. The Notre Dame game absolutely comes next because, like you said, I mean, it was mind-blowing that we couldn't get to the speed demon that is Sam Hartman for 16 yards. Now, the next 2, I mean, I could lump them 2 and 3 or 3 and 4 kind of together because losing to UNC sucks. We never want to lose to those sons of bitches. But that being said, neither one of those plays directly determined the outcome of the game. The Miami and Notre Dame plays single-handedly cost us to lose both of those games. Like, those games where if that gets turned over, we win. If we stop Sam Hartman, we win. The 2 Carolina plays, we still had time to do with or without. Like, even though the 4th and 16 sucked, or not the 4th, the chop block sucked. Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we miss a field goal right there anyways? Like, after that play, didn't we miss a field goal?
I think we missed the field goal on the drive before because I feel like we got called on the pass interference Yeah, that's what happened because then we got that PI or whatever, and then we missed the field goal. It was that drive, the Phantom
So yeah,
PI.
so we missed a field goal on that drive, and then
Yeah,
let UNC go down the field and take the lead at the last second. The same thing happened. The interception. We still let UNC win the game in overtime. Like, to let you guys know, I'm not a blame the officials person. Officials make terrible calls. That happens. Yes, the non-call on the illegal man downfield on the 2-point conversion let Carolina win the game.
100%.
Duke allowed a touchdown to allow Carolina to get to the 2-point conversion. All we have to do is not give up a touchdown to UNC, and boom, that never happens. So yes, that call in that situation sucked, but we put ourselves in those situations. Whereas the Notre Dame game, we tackle Sam Hartman, we win. The Miami game, the knee was down. All they had to do was get it right, we win. So there's a big difference in, I think it's Miami, Notre Dame, a steep drop off, and then the 2 Carolina games is how I would look at it.
100%.
Now
Our
we're going to
next
our next.
question's an absolute banger. Ryan Parsons, guys, go give the guy a follow. I think he has like 5 followers, following like 20 of us Duke faithful. Cool. Like, I mean, I'm all for it. I hope more and more people like that come to fruition. We need new fans and fans that want to learn about Duke and hear from scumbags like us. But Ryan said he really enjoyed the first pod. If you could have Duke target 3 players in the portal right now, who would it be and why? And this one's pretty good. We do have one that we both scouted that we agreed on. It's a cornerback. We'll start with him, Takario Davis from Arizona. Um, for me, it's dude 6'4", 195. He doesn't have to play corner. We can stick that at safety. We can play that as a rover safety. Have him kind of locked down in between a slot and an X. Just the height and the size. He led the Pac-12 with 15 pass breakups last year, and earned all conference recognition from the AP. So that's awesome, and that's kind of what I've read into about him. I think that would be a great fit for us.
Yeah, piggyback off of that real quick. Like you said, I'm a little spoiler. So after him, I've got another guy in the secondary because I think the secondary needs a lot of work and upgrade. Like you said, he led the Pac-12 in breakups, and he was all conference, folks. I don't know how many of you guys are keeping up with the Pac-12, formerly the Pac-12. Rest in peace, Pac-12.
RIP
Pac-12 after
Pac-12
dark.
after dark.
Yeah, we love you. They throw the ball a lot in the Pac-12. So to lead the Pac-12 in pass breakups isn't like a slight. Like, that is an impressive feat to have. And the Pac-12 had some good quarterback play. Like, they had Bo Nix, they had Caleb Williams, Michael Penix. Like, he was going up against some dudes. So
Bo
he's
knows.
So I think that would be a great addition. Now I said I wanted another DB. Noah will appreciate this one. D'Angelo Pons, a 5'10" freshman out of JMU. Go
Sun Belt.
Sunbelt.
Sun Belt. Oh.
Now he's ranked currently as the 7th out of every transfer that entered the portal, even including guys that committed already. He's 17th. Now, he hasn't signed anywhere yet. He's from Miami. We have a coach who has Miami connections. JMU is just a short drive down to Durham. He's a freshman. That's the big thing. If we get him, we've got another 3 years of eligibility with this guy. I think that would be a just slam dunk addition if Duke could go higher or go pull him in. He would immediately probably play for us. I just think it'd be a phenomenal get. Noah, I'll let you hit your next one, and then I'll
Tyler,
get my third one.
as much as we love the Sun Belt, there might be one thing we love just a little bit more, and that's the fucking Mac. It's the Mac, I mean,
Action.
there's nothing better than watching Kent State Golden Flashes playing the University of Miami, Ohio on a Tuesday night in November when it's -3 degrees and snow on the ground. There's nothing more scumbag. Honestly, like if you listen to the pod and you guys don't watch college football when it's on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights, when that part of the season fills in, you know you're not a scum. You know you're not a GA scumbag, and you're gonna have to step your game up. But so my player CJ West from Kent State, 6'2", 315 defensive tackle. In 3 years, he's acquired 110 tackles, 60 quarterback pressures, and 20 tackles for a loss with 8 sacks. For a defensive tackle, those numbers are through the roof. He was graded as the top Maction defensive tackle last year by Pro Football Focus and earned third-team All-MAC honors from league coaches. Became one of the most popular players in the portal as soon as he's entered. He has multiple offers from the likes of Bama, LSU, Miami, A&M, power hitters. So hopefully Duke gets in on that. I would love to see him in Durham.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just the good thing about Duke is there's a lot of big names out there still. Speaking of big names and big guys, Iowa football, they got an offensive lineman who was a Bama commit, or was at Bama. He went to Iowa. Now he's back in the portal. There's some smoke around this one. That's all I'll say. Caden Proctor would be a massive addition to the offensive line for Duke. An immediate plug-and-play starter, would never come off the field, potential first-round draft pick down the line. There's just so many things I can say about Caden Proctor. If Caden Proctor commits to Duke, I will find a way to go to Durham and record myself just running laps around Duke's campus for like 10 minutes straight. You have my word. I will get a Duke flag, tie it to my back, and run around Duke's campus for 5 minutes if we get Caden Proctor to commit. That's how happy I'd be.
You think they'd ever let us parachute off the chapel for a promo?
Hey, you remember that time we played somebody and they had guys parachuting to the stadium, like the dude almost landed in the crowd. Like he got a little worrisome for a second there.
Ago, yeah. I forgot who they were playing. But yeah, I do remember exactly what game you're talking about. That shit was pretty wild. First game I ever went to was against Navy, and I got to see, I was 4 years old, and they paratroopered in that game as well, which was pretty sick. I guess I'm gonna move on to our next question here. I felt like we put out some dogs for you right there. 3 guys people can look into. This is our boy Jarrett, Wade Wacko 71. Jarrett, awesome guy, great to tailgate with. Good guy, him and his wife, great people to sit with at the old ballpark. He will take liquor pants shots with you. Drink that Jim Beam Fire with me hard at the Clemson game. But he said, how much of a distraction will the Heisman Trophy ceremony be to Malik Murphy during the college football championship game prep this coming season? What a scummy question. I mean, that's such good faith, and just you couldn't be a better Duke fan,
Yeah, I mean, that's just and here's the thing. As good of a question as that is, I'm really not sure that there's a right answer to that. Because I don't think any amount of Heisman hype would be enough for Malik Murphy. And, it'd be hard for me to admit that I won't be distracted. I'll be spending Duke football games dreaming about Malik Murphy's Heisman, so I'm sure he's doing the same.
100%. Like, that would just be the coolest thing to ever happen to us. So our boy Bread Circus coming in. Appreciate you, Bread Circus. Great guy. If you guys don't know him, go give him a follow. He types like Cam Newton does. He's like Duke's Cam Newton, which is super sick. I I'd like to figure out how much time it takes him to construct like his tweets because they're always perfect. Like his emojis, the way he like puts everything like all his typing, it's always perfect. Um, he put, "How do you guys feel about the transition from a very old team the last 2 seasons and not having to rely on youth as much, and and then this year, having to rely on youth in the portal?" Tyler, I'll let you kind of take that one.
Yeah, it's different. Like he said, we're very old. Like we're losing a lot of experience and leadership, but it happens. The thing is, good programs don't have the excuse of we're old and we're young. Like good programs get to the point where they're young is just as good as they're old. Now, I don't think we're there yet. Like there's still going to be learning curves. There's going to be a few bumps in the road. Thankfully, the schedule early on plays out nice enough for us to be able to kind of get those bumps and still come out with wins before
Such
things
a W for
really
us.
pick up. But I'm not worried about being young. We've still got leadership in the right spots. Trey Freeman's going to absolutely be a leader on that end. We've got Eli Pankole, Jordan Moore, Jaquez
Taylor
Moore. They're
Rivers,
going to be,
good leader.
yeah. So I mean, leadership will be fine. It's just different guys have to step into those roles. As far as the portal, I mean, really, Duke's done an okay job with the portal. It's always going to be tough for Duke to use the portal until they kind of less lighten up on the academic restrictions that hamper us a lot. But the portal, Duke's done it the right way. In my opinion, you don't use the portal to go build a new team. You use the portal to get those guys that you're missing. If you've got a really good guard, you say, for example, that's just not there yet, and you just lost a guard, you go get him in the portal, go get a good senior. Hey, learn, you tell your freshmen, learn behind this guy for a year, then you've got 3 years. And that's kind of where we've been at. So I think we've done a great job as far as the portal goes, truthfully, and I think I'm not worried about our quote youth per se.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I like you were saying, I think the first part of that is the most important thing for everyone that's listening to the pod to kind of start believing in is youth and experience. There's certain obstacles that come with the youth, and there's certain obstacles that come with experience. When there's a lot of things that can happen both ways there, and good good football teams are three deep everywhere, and those three deep can switch and interchange and be fine. And Duke's getting there. They're starting to build that up. But once you get to that point where young and old don't matter anymore, and you're not looking at what year a guy is, that's when you know your team's made it.
Yeah, I mean that's summed it up pretty good. So all right, I'm gonna pick on this next one. Big shout out Laney Hagler. First off, if you like our logo, big shout out to Laney. She's the one that made it. She's been an avid supporter and helper of everything. She says, looks like the Duke University Marching Band is beefing up their tuba section. Thoughts, and how many do you think it'll take for them to hit their sweet spot? So for those of you that don't know, Duke's marching band last year had one tuba. And that poor individual carried the tuba section all year long. I'm a whore for a good marching band. Like, I think marching bands make college football. You got to have them. You got to have good ones. We've added 3 tubas, folks. Don't know where they came from. There were 4 tubas in the marching band at the spring game. So someone at Duke's hitting the portal and doing the right thing. Now, how many is the sweet spot? No such thing. Take all the tubas you can get.
Yeah,
I feel like tuba
a
is a very
thousand tubas
that's a
is
very
not enough.
scumbag instrument. It feels like it's like the offensive lineman of marching bands.
Yeah, like it's the big uglies, It's Jacob and Graham and the boys, It's the big fellas. It carries a team. My
So I
theory on
mean,
the tubas, though, I've dug myself into a conspiracy theory here. New Duke running back coach Willie Simmons came from an HBCU, Florida A&M. I don't know how familiar you guys are with HBCU college football. I find myself pretty familiar. NCAA, I've got to see quite a few games. Um, HBCU bands are the greatest thing to ever happen to college football. I mean, it is the most
Amen.
beautiful sight in the world. And I've got this suspicious feeling because if there's one thing HBCU bands have a shitload of are tubas, sousaphones, all the deep bass, all the deep brass. I'm pretty sure Willie might be throwing some of that NIL money at some of his old marching band people down there, and I'm all for it. Bring the tubas to Durham. Let's bring tubas back. I'm make tubas cool again this year.
Yeah, you can never have enough like marching band help. Like it's always going to be welcomed. All right, so this next question, our boy Sam's back. Sam, sorry the Cowboys. Actually, I'm not sorry the Cowboys didn't take Graham. I've never been happier. Sorry that
Yeah,
you
fuck
missed
the
out on getting to
Cowboys,
see Graham
Sam.
Barton, but not sorry the Cowboys didn't take him. Um, he says immediate reaction when I say Jeremiah Hazley will be top 3 in receptions this season and go, and I would say you're damn right he will be. We love Jeremiah on this podcast. We are a Jeremiah stan. We love the tight end. The tight end doesn't get loved enough. So I'm all for that, Sam. I think Malik's gonna like Jeremiah a lot.
Yeah, my immediate reaction, Sam's just boner, zipper broken. I mean, I see him probably. I mean, he could very well be our two guy when it comes to receptions at the end of the year. I mean, we're talking about a guy that started as a linebacker. I feel like that transition is not the easiest in the world. And getting to the kind of weight you need to be at and how you need to be athletically to run routes, block, do everything that Hasley has to do, and just how much he improved every game last year, just week by week, it was just monumental how much better he would get. And you could tell. I mean, the end of the season, the Birmingham Bowl, dude was tearing it up. And this year, it seems obvious that he's going to be a key part to this offense, and we're glad to see it. We're Hasley guys. Shout out to Daryl. Had his father, got to meet him at a few tailgates. One of the coolest guys to talk golf with, talk shop with. Great guy and a friend of the pod. So we're a Hasley stan over here. Really looking forward to seeing what 8-5 does.
So all right, so we got 2 questions left, and we'll hit this one first. Woody at the one, bunch of numbers. How did the team look, especially the new QB? Do you think he will live up to the hype? Well, folks, if you haven't learned one thing this far to listen to us talk about Malik Murphy, you couldn't hype. There's no amount of hype you could put on him that he's not going to live up to. Uh, as far as how did the team look, I really wish I could tell you more besides what we talked about earlier. But the spring game itself, it just wasn't much of a game. You couldn't really gauge much. A lot of the guys that are here that are going to be on the team in the fall weren't there yet. So there were some good and some bad. We'll know more in the fall as far as that question goes. But yeah, Noah, you think Malik Murphy's going to live up to the hype?
Yeah,
Just leave that one
yeah. I
up
mean,
there.
I can't say it enough. If Malik Murphy has a million fans, I was the first. If there's one, I'm the only one. If there's zero, I'm dead. Like I just he's my guy. I love everything about him. If you guys don't follow him on Instagram, you should. SMV4. He does a lot of live videos, and today his live video was him and some of the Duke football boys going to the Lemur Center. And there's nothing more scumbag than the Duke Lemurs. And we love the
Yes.
Lemurs, and the Lemurs are everything that Duke is, which is just integrity and greatness. And the Lemurs are all of that. They're the epitome of Duke. Pretty much doctorates at this point. I'm pretty sure we've had the Lemurs for like 12, 14 years now. Like it's been a while. And if you haven't caught a free Lemur T-shirt at Wallace Wade that's way too big for you because it's like a 4XL, then you haven't been there enough. So I'd
Yep.
like to shout out the Lemurs, and that's just super scummy.
All right. So our last question, Patrick. Sorry if I get your last name wrong here, Patrick. We're gonna go with Caccio. He left us 2 questions, so we appreciate that, Patrick. The first one he left was offensive line with a question mark. That is the best I would be able to answer that question is with the question mark.
Yep.
The second one, why not make it a fan fest instead of a practice? Especially when you don't have enough to field a full squad. And, we kind of dove on that earlier, and I'm right there with you. I don't get advertising a spring game to people when in reality it wasn't a spring game. Again, I just think for the kids, if you were under the age of 10, you had a great time probably because you got to do the little, kids fest thing on top of, you got to watch some free football and meet a few of the players afterwards if you were part of the Durham Devils Club. If you were above the age of 13 and you went to watch and you thought you were going to watch a routine spring game, you were probably left a little bummed out and confused like the rest of us because there wasn't communication. You didn't know until you got there that, hey, we're doing a 7-on-7 more or less, and every once in a while the offensive line is going to suit up. So I'm right there with you. I think the spring game needs to be completely reevaluated and overhauled. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. Not that it's worth anything.
Yeah, so my opinion with the spring game is being a college football sicko, shout out the Sickos Committee on Twitter as well. If you guys don't follow them, give them a follow. They walk so guys like us can run. And they post a lot of spring game highlights. And Ole Miss, a team that's top 5 this year, and I'll die on that hill. They're easily the best championship contender that Ole Miss has ever fielded before. They were playing basketball, like knockout, at their spring game and like tug of war. You know what I mean? It's just how spring football is now. And like Duke's, as bad as it looked because of roster size, like they still did more than like Ole Miss did, a team that's going to be playing for a natty this year. So like that's my thing on the spring game. You got to go into it with the right expectation in today's day and age. And that's to literally just have something to do and go sit and talk with fellow fans. Like, you're not going to gain anything from it.
Yeah, so before we let Noah get in the scumbag of the week, speaking of fans, let me just give a quick shout out to the people I got to meet. So before we get to them, our boy Drew Cheshire, Drew Chesh, got to meet him. Eli Hartsoe, friend of the program, got to meet Eli. Jamie wasn't there. Scott Medlin, Josh Cox, the Hard Hat guys, our boy, the Dodge father, the godfather of Duke football, Peter Dodge was there. I finally got to meet Peter Dodge. What an individual. Brian Owens, I got to meet Brian, his wife, great people. Great, like some of the nicest people you'll meet in the world right there. Just down to earth. So it was really cool to get to put some names with faces with Duke football Twitter. Hopefully throughout the year you'll see me and Noah more and we'll get to put names with faces and we all get to meet up some more. But, I'll let Noah get in the scumbag of the week here. There were some really tough decisions to be made this time around. This was a tougher battle than the first week with our boy Hoosier Stan. This time we had some tough decisions to make, so I'm going to let Noah get into it and kind of break down the scumbag of the week.
So it really came down to there was quite a few submissions. A lot of people did some pretty scummy things, and that's we love it. If you don't wake up every day and your main aspiration isn't just to be a scumbag, then it's probably the wrong pod for you. But man, in my humble and honest opinion, Drew Chess, I think he just edged out Krim a little bit. The only reason I feel like I couldn't pick Krim is because even as funny as it is to message StubHub and be like, update your shit, we're a pro Duke track podcast. And it was just a hindrance to me that I couldn't do that because I love the picture of the track. That was the greatest time ever. It was the worst time ever, but just being a Division I ACC Power 5 school with a track and field around your football field was just hilarious. And it's scummy, so we have to appreciate it. So I'm going to give it to Drew Chesh this week, scumbag of the week. Drew has a Manny Diaz pendant on his keychain. And Drew's that kind of guy at the office. He's gonna whip out the lanyard and be like, "See old Manny here," and just gonna flaunt him around like it's a boyfriend back in high school type thing, And Drew, we appreciate that. That's super awesome. And just don't ever take it off. That's one of the coolest things we've seen. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm gonna throw it back to Tyler here. Thanks for listening to us ramble on and talk, and we appreciate all the questions you guys ask, everything you guys put into the pod. We're gonna be bringing some of you guys on in the next coming pods, so stay tuned on that. I think our next one will be our first guest appearance pod. Just yet again, a thank you from me, guys. I really appreciate all the support. And, keep being scummy.
Yeah, to dive in real quick. So I've already talked to Drew, and you're not going to want to miss it, folks. Drew is going to be on our next pod. That's kind of the reward for being Scumbag of the Week. For those of you that don't know, starting from now on, Scumbag of the Week is going to have the option to appear on the next recording of the GA Scumbags. And Drew's going to join us on our next episode, and he's going to partake in our top 10 list, and he's going to give us a little backstory on kind of who he is and why he likes Duke and Duke football so much. Because, at the end of the day, like we said in the first episode, this is, mine and Noah's podcast. Yes, but we want this to be like bigger than the two of us. We want this to feel like a community thing. Like, the point of this podcast is to get Duke football people connected, to connect you to the program, to connect, everybody together. So in the future weeks, when you're selected for Scumbag of the Week, we'll let you know. We're going to contact you and ask if you want to be on. And Drew graciously decided he'd like to, be on. So we can't wait to get to, talk to Drew. I met him at the game. No, I don't know. Have you ever met Drew in person? Like, is this going to be y'all's first time talking to each other
In person, yeah.
outside of Twitter?
A few times down in Charlotte, we've tried to meet up, go golfing, stuff like that. Hadn't been able to happen yet. I mean, we talked and stuff, on Zoom, things like that. But yeah, really looking forward to getting them in and everything.
And so, like Noah said, episode number 2, stick with us. I'm sure there's stuff that we're working on it as we go. This was something we threw together. We're learning on the fly. Noah's audio is already 10 times better. We got that fixed already. So we're learning from our mistakes. But again, follow us on Twitter at GA Scumbags. That's our handle for YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Please, share if you can, retweet every time you get a chance. Follow us. We'd appreciate all the feedback and support from you guys. And, as always, stay scummy and DDMF.